Hello and welcome to this episode of Kidneys in the Kitchen. I am your host, Melissa Prest. I'm a registered dietitian with the National Kidney Foundation of Illinois. And with me today is a registered dietitian, Bree Sabala, who is coming to us from Peoria. Actually, she took the train in today to be with us, which is awesome. And Bree works mainly with dialysis patients, those who are doing home therapies.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
So you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, Bree?
Sure. So I've been a renal dietitian for about a year and a half now. I work with home patients, so those that are doing home hemodialysis and peritoneal dialysis. I work with adults and kids, and I've very much enjoyed my job.
Awesome. Well, we are so glad to have Bree with us today, and we are going to be making a salad a little later on. But we're celebrating National Nutrition Month, National Kidney Month. It's National Social Worker Month.
So many celebrations.
Lots of celebrations. March is a big month of just celebrations, and we're kind of excited to talk a little bit about it. So keeping in theme with the National Kidney Month, we know that there are different diets depending on, modifications depending on the stage of CKD. So do you want to talk a little bit through what those might be?
Absolutely. So kind of as somebody progresses through the different stages of kidney disease, there will be a little bit of diet modifications, and I just wanted to mention that it will always depend on your blood work, your kidney function. So basically you really want to get these recommendations from your doctor and your dietitian on what things you do need to implement for your diet as you progress through the stages.
And I know that's a lot of confusion for people that maybe are in stage 2 or stage 3, because I think a lot of the information on the internet is really geared towards dialysis. So ends, very, very much at the end stage, on dialysis, stage 5. And so, lab values may be fine and you don't need to restrict, phosphorus or potassium just yet. So there's like a really concern about that. So I think that's a really good point of making sure you're looking at your lab values and it's really tailored to what's going on, with you at that time.
Yes, absolutely. And it just gets very confusing and overwhelming. So know that your team is on your side and they want to see you succeed in any stage that you're in for the kidney disease and help you out. So again, I think it's important to make sure you're talking with your doctor or your dietitian.
So thinking of team and celebrations, which I guess we probably should have started with this. I think I'd written the question that way. But what type of celebrations and things are you doing this month with your patients?
Absolutely. So we are having a big lobby day celebration. So in our clinic lobby, we probably plan to have a big setup just informing people on the different celebrations this month. So like you mentioned, we have National Kidney Month. So informing patients what that is, just how to make sure their kidneys are staying healthy during dialysis or during, them being on the transplant list. Answer any questions they have. We plan to have some nurses come out. We'll have the social worker there as well. She just making sure she's there for her patients emotionally, whatever she can do for resources. And then myself, I'll be attending the lobby day. I'll have lots of kidney-friendly snacks for the patients. We'll pass out newsletters, just giving them more information on the different celebrations for the month. And then we'll probably have some prizes and raffles as well. So we plan to make it a very fun day, informative day for the patients, and just have celebrations for everyone, essentially.
Awesome. I love it. And thinking of information and, kind of thinking through that when we're talking about the different, there's different things for the diet or, we know that CKD is a progressive disease, that it's for some people it does progress down to where you may need dialysis. We have some information about that we can talk through. So let me show that. So this is an infographic that's just kind of depicting, if we look at the pints of blood that are filtered by the kidney, how that changes as CKD progresses.
Right, absolutely. So you can see, if your kidneys are in a normal range, we might refer to that as stage 1. Your blood per hour is filtering about 11.5 pints of blood per hour, which is very significant. And then, as we kind of go into the different stages of kidney disease and it progresses, you go into stage 2, 3, especially stage 4, you're filtering about 2 pints of blood per hour. And then in stage 5, you're filtering less than 1.5 pints of blood per hour. So it's going to be very important that you're also helping your body and what you're putting in it, so that way your kidneys aren't working too hard to filter out the toxins, say the potassium and the phosphorus in your blood. So we'll kind of go over to the different stages of kidney disease and how we can modify diet to help prolong your kidney function as much as we can. So as far as a dietitian, what our main goals are for people with kidney disease is we want to not necessarily treat the kidney disease, but we want to help slow or stop the rate of progression of the kidney disease, and that's through diet, what we're recommending and what you're eating and what you're drinking. We still want you to maintain a good nutrition status overall. That is absolutely the key. We don't want to limit you too much. We want you to enjoy things and make sure you're eating all the good nutrients and minerals that we get from our foods. But at the same time, we want to make sure that we are minimizing the side effects that this toxic overload might put on your body. So uremia, the chemical imbalances that might give some side effects that are unwanted, say bad taste, you might just not feel well, you might not feel well enough to eat. So that is our main goal. We want to do a lot to help, again, slow the progression and make you feel your best.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is important to make sure that you're, following up with your healthcare providers and seeing a dietitian. Particularly once you're in stage 3, it's really important to start seeing and working with the dietitian, to kind of work on these goals for the kidney.
Absolutely. And then just some key components of the diet. And again, these will kind of be modified throughout the stages. But number one, you always want to make sure you are eating enough. You have enough calories and protein to sustain your body, to have enough energy throughout the day. And at the same time, we want to try to reduce sodium. That's going to be a common theme throughout the stages of kidney disease, and really just for general health. And we'll kind of get into that a little bit more. And then again, as we progress, we might see the need to try to limit some phosphorus and potassium intake, as well as fluid. So those are kind of the key components we'll touch on.
Awesome.
So in stage 1 and 2, again, you said you didn't really need to see your healthcare team until 3 and 4 to maybe have some more specific recommendations for nutrition, but we always want to make sure you're following a healthy lifestyle. That's number one for everyone, right? So that's following your healthcare's team recommendations. That's making sure you're exercising if you're able to, and taking all of your medications as prescribed. We also want to make sure that you're focusing on the diet changes that have already been recommended. So sometimes a doctor may recommend a low sodium diet just to help out with hypertension or high blood pressure. So you might want to follow a low sodium diet, which is about 1,500 milligrams to 230 milligrams. And 230 milligrams is about a teaspoon of salt, if we want to think of it that way. Another part of following diet recommendations will maybe be following some diabetes recommendations from your doctors. That's limiting carbohydrate intake, and again, just to focus on your health so that CKD does not progress. In stage 3 and 4, this is where we see the kidneys start to decline, so we may have to ask you to limit your protein intake. And that's just because protein is a large molecule. We may want you to limit how much protein you're eating, so that way your kidneys aren't working as hard. Again, so we can prolong that CKD progression.
And sometimes we talk about the type of protein too. Mm-hmm. So incorporating a little bit more of plant-based proteins in the diet, versus just relying mainly on animal-based proteins. And I know sometimes there's that confusion of, but I'm eating chicken or I'm eating turkey and not red meat, and it doesn't really matter if it's like a lean white meat or a lean red meat or not. It's really just looking at an animal versus plant-based protein.
Right, absolutely, and which are both great sources of protein, but you want it to be varied and you want it to be from high-quality sources, and you can get that through absolutely plant-based 100% and your animal products as well. And then, so going into phosphorus, so again, this is going to vary on your blood work, but you may have to be asked to limit phosphorus a little bit. And phosphorus is just a mineral in your blood. If it does get too high, it can lead to some bone damage, some heart damage as well. So again, we'll kind of go into what the different sources of phosphorus come from at a later point in time. You may be asked to also limit high potassium foods, so that may just mean watching some of those high sources, say bananas, tomatoes, oranges, which are pretty standard in our diet. And again, maybe not limiting them or avoiding them 100%, but knowing how to balance them out. And then going into stage 5, we have kind of two parts in stage 5. That's for people that are on dialysis and who are not yet on dialysis. But again, your blood is filtering, 1.5 pints of blood per hour, which is very little. So depending on if you are on dialysis versus if you are not on dialysis, you will need to talk to your healthcare team on the specific recommendations. But if you are not on dialysis, we would probably still ask you to limit your protein intake. If you are on dialysis, though, we may ask you to eat more protein just because the way that the treatment works, it's taking out more protein, so you need to replace that. And then as far as the phosphorus and the potassium, again, it depends on blood work, but we may ask you to limit the phosphorus foods, especially coming from phosphorus additives in foods, or we may ask you to limit the potassium foods again. And then another one comes in is the fluid restriction. So if you are not on dialysis, you're looking at different signs and symptoms of fluids building up in your body. So that's swelling, that's a high blood pressure, things of that nature. So your healthcare team may ask you to follow a fluid restriction. Those on dialysis will usually have to follow one. That's about 32 ounces of fluid per day. If you are in home dialysis and you're doing more dialysis, that may be a little bit more liberal. So again, pretty variable. You want to make sure you're getting specific recommendations. And then lastly is going to be transplant. So if you do have a kidney transplant, it will be very important to follow general food safety guidelines just because we know your immune system may be compromised due to the different medications that you're taking. And again, your healthcare team is going to be tracking your specific lab values and blood work. So you're going to have very specific recommendations on if your electrolytes are too high or too low.
Well, thank you.
Yes, woo! It's a doozy.
So part of, kind of putting all of that into practice is a healthy way to make your plate. So I know we talk, about there's the DASH diet, there's My Plate, which is just, they're two different things, but it's, the DASH diet is we're looking at increasing fruits and vegetables for, high blood pressure, but then the My Plate's kind of that healthy way to put that all together.
Right, absolutely. And My Plate is a great tool just to help, again, make sure your plate is as nutritionally balanced as it could be every time you're eating a meal. So we love My Plate.
And I know we brought some examples of that in, so I don't know if you want to grab one of those. And
yes.
Then we can, if you can see it there, we can stick it actually over here. We have a bunch of food over here we're going to make, but we'll put the overhead up. There we go. That actually looks great. So this is kind of a good way to put together your plate to make it a healthier, balanced plate. So you want to talk through that a little bit?
Sure. So this is just a general guideline to help you look at your plate overall and kind of see what is working out best to make it balanced. So over here, we like to focus first on the fruits and vegetables and making essentially half of your plate fruits and vegetables, which will be very important. Again, if you are needing to limit your potassium, that may be an issue for some people, but definitely not to fear because there are lots of low potassium fruit and vegetable options. We do have some like green beans, we have corn, things of that nature that can absolutely fit into a kidney-friendly diet. As far as your grains, we want to make that a quarter of your plate, and we do want to make that at least half of your grains be a 100% whole grain product. Again, some people may see that potassium and phosphorus is coming from whole grain products, but we do know that phosphorus from a plant-based diet is not as absorbed in the body as, say, something from an animal source. So focusing on 100% whole grains from maybe whole wheat bread, some pasta is definitely a great option because we also want that fiber benefit that's going to be Awesome. And then the last quarter of our plate is going to be a high quality protein. So as we touched on before, that coming from an animal product is fine, but we really want to encourage plant-based as well. It's going to be very important. So things like soy, things like, tofu can fit into that protein plate as well.
Awesome. And then we have a plate kind of already put together, just a little, it's a cling stick plate, so not actual food, but just kind of showing how that might look in practice. And sorry, it's a little bit white, but we have some fish. This would be like fish, which we kind of think about the size of the palm of your hand, a little bit longer if it's like a fish that's fillet. We have cauliflower and that's like broccoli. So we have kind of half of this plate has that. We have a whole grain slice of bread as our grain source. And then we have some fruit for dessert. So kind of just a healthy, balanced way to make your plate and put that into practice.
Absolutely. Looks delicious.
It does. So speaking of delicious, nice segue there. We are going to go into our recipe today. So today, what are we making here?
Absolutely. So today we are making a broccoli, apple, and cranberry salad. So I'm very excited about it. It comes with a light dressing that is actually Greek yogurt based. And it's very easy to put together. We have some low potassium fruit and veggie options, which are very nice. And then we can dress it with some walnuts and cranberries and some red onions.
Awesome. So we've already kind of prepared everything to make it easier, but I'm going to let you take it away and kind of start mixing and talking through together. I can zoom out if maybe that's easier.
There we
to
go.
See. There
Perfect.
we go.
So for this salad,
okay.
There we go. Beautiful. So for this salad, what I really like about it is that we are actually kind of using broccoli as a base, which is really fun, something that you might not think about. Of course, you can use some lettuce, some other greens, but broccoli is just full of fiber. It's full of, vitamin C, and it's a beautiful green. So we want to start with that. So this is about 4 cups of broccoli, and then we have about 1 medium apple diced up. Thank you, Melissa.
You're welcome. And you can always make them a little smaller diced.
Absolutely.
I just did a little rustic cut on that.
I love it. There we go. And then with that, we are also going to add some red onion. Give it a little bite there.
And that's half of a red onion. And again, you can
onion.
make those smaller. But I always love fresh raw onions in like salads.
Absolutely. I think it just kind of gives it a little hit, pack of flavor right there. And then we also have some cranberries. We have about half a cup of cranberries, so it gives it some sweetness. And of course, you have some nice antioxidants from the cranberry. It's low potassium, which is an excellent choice if you're having to watch that. And then we have some walnuts as well. This is about 1/4 of a cup of walnuts. So we get a little bit of protein, we get some omega-3s, we get some nice crunch in the salad. So really, again, it's just super simple. We're just mixing this and combining it all together. And then we also want to start on the dressing, which is super simple as well. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So here, there we go. So here we have about 3/4 of a cup of regular plain Greek yogurt, low fat. And then we also want to add some apple cider vinegar to this. And that is going to call for about 2 tablespoons.
Oh, we don't have tablespoons in that.
We'll make it work.
We'll make it work.
There we go. Was that about 3 teaspoons, correct?
I think so. 3 or 4.
Yeah.
That works.
Perfect. There we go. Then lastly, we'll add a touch of honey just for some sweetness. And that'll be about 2 tablespoons of honey. Whoop.
It should come out. I think I see it going.
Yeah, it might just take a little bit,
Might
but
take
we'll
a
get
minute.
there. There we go.
So I know sometimes with, walnuts or cranberries. Some people may be concerned about the potassium content in it. But I think some of the benefits of doing it in a salad like this is that, you're obviously not going to eat that entire portion.
Right,
This is for how many people would you say?
So I would say that serves about maybe 4 to 6 people, depending. Maybe a serving size would be about a half a cup per person.
Okay.
Absolutely. So once you think of it that way, you are going to be limiting your potassium intake. Absolutely.
Right.
And then again, you're having a lot of other nutritional benefits from this meal altogether. All right, and then so that's everything for our salad dressing, and we'll just kind of give it a nice little mix. Yes, absolutely.
Move that back for you.
Make sure we get it all. That honey will be quite thick. Alrighty. And then it's
Kind of a fun thing to do with the mason jar. You could make some
Absolutely.
salad dressing with it.
Absolutely, and then you just store it in your fridge, and then when you need it next, you're good to go too if you have any left over. So just kind of mix that in over the salad. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And that's really all there is to it. Easy peasy.
It looks delicious.
It smells delicious.
It does.
Smells very nutritious. So there we go.
So that could be something like a nice side even if it's, summer and you're doing like you're grilling. This could be kind of a nice side to like grilled chicken, grilled fish, hamburger, anything like that. And we can put it in a pretty bowl to make it look all pretty.
Oh, absolutely. And there we go.
Look at how pretty that looks. And we'll go back to this and you can see this really pretty bowl. Look at that. Looks amazing. Minus this clutter here. Don't mind that.
But easy enough, right?
But easy enough, yes. Well, Bree, anything else you wanted to add or share today?
I'd just say overall, again, just focusing on your food, being mindful, enjoying it, and knowing that you have a team on your side to make sure that you're able to enjoy foods that you love and, don't want to give up. There's a way to always incorporate it, most likely. So definitely reach out to your doctor, reach out to your registered dietitian. We are absolutely here to help you.
Absolutely.
And, yes, and happy National Kidney Month.
Yes, and happy National Nutrition Month.
Absolutely. And happy Social Worker
That's
Month.
right. That's right. Got to get everyone in there. Well, thank you so much for being with us. It was great having you. And until next time, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Melissa.
Welcome.